One. Welcome to Moonhawk Studios Presents.
Okay, maybe with a little less feeling next time, because that was too intense for me.
Hello and welcome to the show.
Beep, beep, beep.
Everybody sounds tired tonight. Are we all tired tonight?
Maybe.
A little bit.
I'm on my, I don't know how many coffees I've had tonight.
Mm.
All right, well, if that rousing
anyway.
if that rousing intro wasn't enough for you, welcome to another edition of Moonhawk Studios Presents. I'm your deranged host, Mac Paladin. And nobody commented on it.
If you wanted us to object, we're not going.
Well, you know,
There was
like
no
I-
false statements there, dude. Move along.
If you're
Better
waiting
to
for
be-
anyone to disagree with you, you're in for a long wait.
Better to be the Lone Ranger than the deranged loner, I always say. All right, with me in the studio as always is my good friend Adam.
I have literally never heard you say that before.
I've said it like 9 times on this show alone.
Have you?
Yes.
I'm like,
Oh my
not
God.
a very memorable catchphrase then.
How could it not be? Anyway. All right, we also have Elemental Ogre here.
Why silver bullets? I mean, signature-wise, yeah, it works, but that's silver you're shooting. Come on.
On the technicals, we have Petty Fan.
Yay, I did my job this week.
The wearer of silly hats, the Gollix is here.
I am.
And our resident Mega Man aficionado, Twilight Winter.
Hello.
All right, as always, we allege that we have a great show for you tonight. Before that goes completely off the rails, let's get to the news. Adam?
Let's see, the news. Well, there ain't much news from my quarter, like, of this week. Like, it's all typical stuff, if I'm thinking about it. Like, I saw some good news. The Fragments of Silicon Twitch channel just passed 50 subscribers.
Followers.
No,
Get the
subscribers.
whole nickel a month now. Woo!
It's like, whatever the terminologies you want to use.
The subscribers on Twitch is where they pay us. We're not there yet.
Subscrollers.
Either way, we're at the threshold where we can actually get subscribers.
Yeah.
Well,
And that literally just happened a bit ago.
yeah, it's like, yeah, we're at the threshold where we can apply for affiliation, which is like the part-time thing for, you know, the lower tier for that service. So, according to the the terms and regulations and all that, we just have to wait a few weeks now for the invite if we get it. I know they're probably going to do like a background evaluation. You know.
Make sure we're not neo-Nazis and stuff like that.
I should probably get in there and start putting the company financial info into the page. So that way they can do a correct background check.
I'm like, I suppose.
I guess that's more if they ask, because there's not a thing to do it at the
It's like,
moment.
hey,
Right.
so, anyway,
Well, let me know when that needs to be set up. I
Okay.
should probably rejoin the show at some point instead of just sitting here playing Kamihime Project R on Nutaku.net. When I should be on my show.
I'm like,
Whoops.
aside from that, not much going on. You know, reviewing games and planning things out and so on and so forth. Ogre, why don't you go next?
Doom. Not gonna lie, I've started our Halloween Let's Play, which is Doom 2016, because why not? Also, it's a great game. Did I
Still
mention
could have
it's a
been
great game yet?
Wolfenstein, though.
Well, if you can imagine the demons being Nazis, it kind of just works out either way.
Something, there's a mod for that.
There probably is. Anyway, enjoying the hell out of that because it's a good Doom game, so... I mean, how could you not have fun with that? Let's see. I picked up Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga and Bowser's Minions the other day. I actually picked up 2 copies. So I got one for me and one for my nephew because it was his birthday this past Sunday. And he borrowed the crap out of my Paper Jam, Mario and Luigi Paper Jam game, so I figured he'd like the remake of the one that started it all. Been having a lot of fun with that. I just got done with the first desert segment. I'm back at the part where I have to go get the start collecting the Beanstar pieces. Let's see. What else? Petty and I are officially at level cap for the next 3 months in Final Fantasy XIV.
Yay.
Outside of picking and choosing the best in slot stuff, we do not need anything else anymore.
We're good. I mean, we got good.
Yeah, we got good. We still haven't beat X-Death, so we still got to do that, but I mean, we got to 340, so
yeah,
that should say something for us.
Literally, the only thing that's waiting for us is the best weapon we can currently get in the game.
Yeah.
Well, until Bahamut.
That depends on what stats they have on those. It'll be the same item level.
But it's an extra materia slot.
Oh, well,
so it's immediately best in slot.
But yeah. So that managed to happen at the same day somehow. Got lucky with those pants dropping in 03S, so kind of glad you got them overall. So, and the patch recently dropped just yesterday. Shiragani's all up in flames still.
The salt in the subreddit was delicious, though.
It probably was. I'm at least glad Riku managed to get a house. Not the one she wanted, but she got one still. And also, if you're ever a fan of Final Fantasy Tactics, those games, and Final Fantasy XII and those associated games, you probably love Final Fantasy XIV's new raid, which is Return to Avalice, that basically says that Avalice is actually part of the world of Final Fantasy XIV.
I'm interested in how that interacts with the fact that the world of Final Fantasy XIV was destroyed fairly recently.
We're talking like there's a few 1,000-year gaps here and there, so between what is current day 14 and what was then 12 in Tactics.
Yeah, I mean about
also
the whole...
the Calamity thing was kind of basically like that little part of the land being kind of messed up. Everything else was kind of fine.
Oh, the so further from a realm reborn in a literal sense of realm meaning small kingdom.
Yeah.
Not like entire planet.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, the further away you get from Eorzea, the more intact everything is.
Minus the what is that place called? Rabansura or something?
Rabanastra.
Rabanastra, there we go. Also, Vagrant Story. I messed up. I keep thinking Vandal Hearts for some reason, and I don't know why, but it's Vagrant Stories as well. But yeah, it's, I guess, all literally in the same world, because they actually have the desert called the Dalmasca Desert as well, so... Which, fun fact, that name actually kind of helped derive my character's name in there, so... If thou hast ever wondered that, there you go. Other than that, not a whole lot personal wise, so that's my news segment done with.
All right.
Yay.
Patty Pan.
Well, we got new phones yesterday. Yeah, we went in expecting to pay like $20-$30 per phone. We got out, we got like $200 back from gift cards and stuff like that. I'm a frugal motherfucker when I want to be.
I guess that's good.
So yeah, we went from a fairly restrictive data plan and crappy phones to unlimited data and good phones for not much more than we're paying now.
Is this actually unlimited data or quote unquote unlimited data?
I think we have a cap before we start slowing down at like 50 gigs, but if we're using that much, something's wrong with the Wi-Fi.
Okay.
And aside from that, not a whole lot. My sister and mom came back from their trip. I guess they had fun. But yeah, I guess next.
Okay, Alex.
I'm waiting for the weather to start acting like fall. No offense, but I'm not a huge fan of late summer, especially in mid-October. Other than that, I guess Digimon Links finally came out in English in Australia or something. I thought it was out here.
It is. I just got off the Play Store.
Okay, well then maybe
in the
I'll
US.
maybe I'll update or something. Excuse me, I'm gonna sneeze because I think I might be coming down with something.
Mobile games usually launch in like New Zealand and Australia because they're the starting time zone.
Ah, that makes sense. Anyway, I've been playing that for a few days, so that's been fairly fun, but it has a lot of the, mobile grind stuff where you have to either spend money or take a long time to do stuff. And so far, I've been taking a long time to do stuff.
Well,
And
all right.
I'm trying to spend, huh?
I said, well, alrighty then.
Well, at the very least, there isn't like a premium currency you can only get that way, but the number you can get without money is low.
As mobile games would want to do.
Though actually, the amount that you get for spending money is also a pretty terrible deal. So, anyway, I've been having fun with that because I'm a fan of Digimon, so always nice to get a game that I can kind of play, although because my phone has a fairly small internal memory, I actually got an Android emulator on my computer to play it on, so. But yeah, other than that, we have lots of games to review for Fragment, so I'm trying to find time to do that too.
Okay.
Yeah, other than that, I'm boring this week, I guess.
We just had a little bit of dead air there, so I was prompting you to keep going. Now that we're done, let's get Twilight Winter there.
Well, this past weekend, me and my family went to one of our local fall festivals, which was fairly enjoyable. Nice weather. Really enjoyed looking at all the crafts from the craftsmen who came there from around the country. But the only low point of it was that they're selling funnel cakes for $6, which is a ripoff.
Yeah, I think I mean that's even even for festival stuff, I'm used to fried dough being like 3 to 4, maybe $4.50.
Yeah, I think that's how much it was last year, I believe. I don't think we got any last year either. Anyway, and now for this weekend, the next festival is being set up in the town I work in, and hopefully this weekend I don't get blocked when I'm coming home from work. But besides that, I'm playing the games that we be that we'd be reviewing this weekend, and that's about it.
Okay. Well, absolutely nothing exciting is happening in the realm of Starship Moonhawk, except for the fact that in spite of updating 3 times a week for, I don't know, what, almost 4 months now, we've actually been having a decrease in readers. Damn you!
Rest in peace.
We had a high of like 181, and now we're sitting at 149 readers, according to Comic Rank. I don't really know how reliable that is, because if you look at the daily visitors, there's been absolutely no change in that whatsoever.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, so it's just been steadily ticking down, 1 reader at a time. Then we had a teeny tiny upswing. I stopped the ads on it because all it was doing was running ads on the webcomic list, so it wasn't that impressive of a campaign. You know, $15 a month will get you the little box on the top of a website that half the internet hasn't heard of, and the other half doesn't care about. I don't know. It's actually shockingly popular. Whenever I run ads on that, all of my comics get a little bump. So that's odd. But yeah, it's just we're running out of pages is what happens. I believe not this Friday, but next week. Let me double check that.
Live research.
Yeah, isn't that great? You're such a hero. We're almost out of pre-colored pages. In fact, this is it right here. Next week is the last set of pages. I believe we drop down to Friday starting next week. So the 3 times a week thing, that's over.
Sad.
Yep. Because the page that's currently sitting there right now is one of Keith's pages that he colored. Originally drawn by Nico Shea, and I kind of feebly colored it myself, but if you consider laying down a bunch of gradients on an action sequence to be coloring, which most people don't. So Keith actually recolored this page, and it looks pretty fab. But I think that's it. Starting next week, we go to Fridays only for 6 weeks, and then there's pretty much no more money. I really thought that running it 3 times a week with all this great artwork for several months would really boost the readership, and it had virtually no discernible effect whatsoever. So that was extraordinarily disappointing. But,
Life happens.
Yeah. Well, the other stuff seems to be moving along. One of the hardest things, though, is to actually get an endorsement from other webcomic artists. You know, it's like there's a couple of moderately famous people who link to Starship Moonhawk, but nobody clicks on their links because they're buried under a wall of links. I mean, it's like I'm actually friends with Brian Folk of Flipside. He's been on the show a couple of times. And, the crew over at the comic Exion, which used to be called Dimension Hopping, in case anybody wasn't sure about that. That's how it's listed in the affiliates. But Drowymos, the guy who's on the webcomic Beacon, he sold the comic effectively to other interested parties who have gone off on a massive storyline tangent. And the only reason I even get link backs from them is because they never bothered to purge me from their links page.
Well, that's something.
Yep. Indavo is back, but Nathan Bonner is only slightly more well known than I am. So, and Two Kinds, probably one of the top 10 comics over at Keenspot, but not to be disparaging to my friends over there, but how big a deal really is it to be in the top 10 at Keenspot anymore, you know?
Keenspot is the one that's not free, right?
Oh, no, it's free. But they've been on the internet since, like, 1998.
Right. Which one was
Yeah.
Comic? It was Keen Space that became Comic Genesis, right?
Correct. And Comic Genesis is still a thing. I mean, several of my affiliate friends are actually on Comic Genesis. But but Dragonar ended, so no links there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's like most of the people who are still around aren't updating anymore, which is really kind of tragic, you know, because I've been around since '99 myself. Just kind of makes you think. The first episode of Starship Moonhawk, of course, is gradually approaching 500 views, though, so I'm pretty pleased about that.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, we're only inching our way towards 10,000 total channel views. Good Lord. Speaking of tough to get an endorsement, huh? It's like, all I need is one YouTuber with 17 million followers to mention me, and we're gold.
Well, the problem is then you have to find one of those who doesn't have objectionable content history stuff.
Oh my God. It's like I said, if we were going to hold up everybody as paragons in order to accept their endorsements, then we may as well just write off the entirety of the internet at this point.
Yeah. That being said, I don't think, we want Nazi endorsements.
No. I'm pretty sure that if Stormfront said that they liked my stuff, I would just stop doing it. We'll see how that goes. I probably have to denounce their endorsement at the very minimum. But we'll see how that goes. It's like, if I'm getting listings on Stormfront.com where they say, no, really, this guy really gets us, I'm gonna be like, I need to rethink my life. I've really fucked up somewhere.
It was me, wasn't it? Me, wait, what?
Yeah, anyway, no. Okay, before we dig ourselves into any deeper hole here, let's go ahead and introduce our guest for the evening. On the show tonight, we have Chris Lee Moore, founder of Rowdy C Productions and the host and star of TV Trash. Chris, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you, guys. It's great to be here. I think I'm just hoping that I'm not going to be about 10 minutes away from asking myself, what the heck did I get myself into?
To be fair, that is the first question.
That bad.
No, we're generally having fun here. Why don't you give us a brief rundown for the uninitiated, what your channel's all about?
Yeah, it basically started in around 2010 when I basically got hooked into the whole internet reviewer craze. My original show, TV Trash, was all about me reviewing bad or otherwise obscure television programs that have aired throughout the ages. It's a wide variety. I've reviewed stuff from as far back as the 1960s, if not earlier and stuff. I've done this, I guess we're going on about 7 years or so now as far as the reviews go. I also did some retrospective reviews on the entire Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles franchise, and I did briefly branch out into video games with my retrospective on the Legend of Zelda series. At the moment, while I am still doing TV Trash, my next big project is kind of expanding. I pretty much created a spin-off of the series that's more of a sitcom format with Rowdy and Friends, which I'm basically creating a serial episodic comedy series starring the characters that I more or less created for my review show. And that started up just this past late August, early September.
All right. Well, that sounds exciting. I was seeing it on your channel here. What's the gist of it? I mean, you say it's got the characters from your reviews and stuff like that.
Absolutely, yeah. So like I said, well, I think if anyone here, just to get kind of set up, is that I think anyone who regularly follows any of the more well-known internet reviewers out there, like the Nostalgia Critic or Linkara or the Spoony one, knows that they've more or less created an alternate world for themselves that their reviewer personalities live in. They have, types of sidekicks, villains, and other characters, whatnot. I pretty much inevitably did that for my own show. And what I've done with Rowdy and Friends is I've created a new setting for them with basically the basis of this show is, up until this point, I've more or less made it clear that, like all other reviewers, my own personal reviewer character lives in the area that I personally live in myself, which is the Dallas-Fort Worth area. But in this show, I've created a new setting where Rowdy, the reviewer character, he's relocated to Southern California, and he's looking to try to become bigger as a TV and movie producer while still, sticking to his internet reviews himself. And it's just a way to set a setting where I could hopefully create some very more comedic stories, which is what I really wanted to be able to branch out into as far as being able to create other versions of entertainment. It's the tone I'm trying to make very much like, a more classic crazy sitcom from the 60s or the 80s and whatnot, and just trying to create some very unique and insane situations that Rowdy and his ninja cat sidekicks and his genie get themselves into.
It sounds like it's going to be a hit.
Hopefully.
Now, before we dive into any of the deeper questions here, what prompted you to choose VidMe instead of YouTube or more traditional avenues of posting your videos?
Now, oh boy, now this is a tale. Absolutely.
Okay. Buckle up, kids.
Of course, when I first got started, I was looking at all the venues at the time of that videos could be uploaded to and whatnot. And remember, this was first back around 2010, 2011 or so, and this is, of course, when we were already starting to have some issues about the copyright people and whatnot and the flagging that goes on YouTube. But of course, this was back when also we had the alternative of Blip TV, which is what all the people like the Nostalgia Critic and whatnot, they were making it well known by uploading their videos there. And so that was what I was originally, for the most part, uploading my videos to. The process I've usually gone through is I would upload it to another video server that would be a bit more open-minded to our types of videos, like originally Blip TV, and then I would just put in brief promo videos on YouTube that links to the fuller videos, try to draw traffic to there. That went on until about, I guess it was 2014 when I became victim of the second wave of what basically has been known as the Blipocalypse. When after they were bought out by Maker Studios, they just kept dropping more and more content creators from their website until the following year they just shut down altogether. The good news there was that first, almost a few days after I'd gotten dropped from Blip, actually, James Walsh, the guy who runs the website ManicExpression.com, offered me not only a spot on his website, I'd been on ReviewersUnknown.com up to that point, but he not only offered me a spot on there, he offered me the ability to upload to their channel that is on, I think it's not Screenwave, it's the other one, Springboard. It's on Springboard, the Springboard platform, and I still upload there for the most part. Just mostly what I upload there is what I post directly to Manic Expression's website. I was on Dailymotion for a while until somehow someone flat out stole my channel. Believe it or not, someone, I guess, figured out my password, hacked into it, and then changed the email address for the channel. And that more or less blocked me out of it. They changed the name. I'm still trying to work on, at the very least, getting my videos shut down from this, and I'm not doing anything with that channel anymore. So that told me to eventually move on to Zipcast, and only about a year or two after that, they completely shut down because apparently the guy running it was a complete, a-hole of one thing or another. And that's pretty much when VidMe came up, and I thought, I'm going to keep trying to give a chance to give these alternate video producers a chance to legitimately compete with YouTube. So right now, the process I do is I still use YouTube primarily just to promote the videos in some form or fashion. The unedited versions, I'll upload to Springboard for the Manic Expression website, to VidMe for just about everything else. I also upload to my own OneDrive account, which is how I directly share my videos with my Patreon contributors. It's just pretty much a sense of, you just take a look and see over the years, YouTube has just gotten worse and worse with how it treats its content providers. So I'm just in a situation, I've been thinking about this for years, that I'm just better off trying to go someplace else that's gonna not going to keep doing so much, treating my video production with so much trouble.
Makes sense. Alrighty.
I apologize. I can be kind of long-winded there, and then just kind of cut you guys off automatically. As I apologize for that.
No,
Sometimes
fine.
I don't.
I'm surprised that they don't have more protection against, like, I mean, that's basically identity theft if they steal your channel.
Yeah, I'm still not exactly sure what happened exactly. Like, they got an email, like Dailymotion got an email, got a message from them saying that you'll change the email address to this. So I proceeded to get an email saying the email address has been changed. You know, I tried to contact them saying I didn't send that message, but didn't get a response back from them. So it's like that they assumed whoever sent it was me and haven't been listening to anything else since. So I just didn't know what really to do after that. It's okay. In a way, it's not. At least I could shrug it off in some way, because Dailymotion's quality as far as a streaming service I didn't think was that great, to be perfectly honest. So I'm actually not having too much of a problem with at least trying to move on to a different provider.
And those videos aren't lost, are they?
No, they're still up there. I mean, I'm still trying to figure out how I might could. I mean, I told them if you could shut down that channel, it would be great appreciated, but I never got a response back from them. I try to keep I keep hard copies of video files of just about all the videos I finish anyway, and store them on actually probably multiple auxiliary hard drives to make sure I've tried to maintain all my completed videos in some form or fashion, so I never really totally lost anything. That's one good thing.
I was just saying, all right, because some people don't. They just kind of upload it and then delete it, and then if something like this happens, their videos are gone.
Yeah, I always try to keep, keep my own copies of of everything that I make, just so I'll always have it in some form or fashion. I've always known to try to back things up in that way.
Yeah, a lot of people some people that do that just literally don't have the space to keep their videos, because
I can kind of understand that. Fortunately, I try to save up to get I managed to save up to get a hard drive that's, like I said, an external hard drive that's got like 2 terabytes of data. That fortunately, and some of the stuff I've got is still, I save the videos in format that keep the data space relatively small. Everything is still like in the hundreds of megabytes for the most part. So it does help reduce storage space as much as possible.
Right. And I'm sure we could go on and on about what they're calling the adpocalypse, or what's going on YouTube.
But as far as that goes, look, I really, especially after getting dropped from Blip, ad revenue was just never a large source of income for me. This is just the point where even just years earlier, I was starting to see the writing on the wall, and that ad revenue is just not going to be I'm trying to find the word here, a significant or a logical source of revenue for the stuff we does. And that's when I made a commitment that I'm going to mostly devote to promoting my Patreon. That's how I think that's really the future especially for independent online entertainment producers. That it's gonna be a matter of promoting and producing your content and making it attractive enough that people are going to be willing to contribute directly to help, help you produce it and make money and stuff. And I really think that that's where it's gonna have to go for a lot of producers down the line.
I'd say not down the line, like now, like.
I mean, yes, it's pretty much already getting there for the most part.
Yeah, it's like I see Patreon as the primary sponsor of things, because ad revenue has never been good on the internet.
No, it hasn't.
But just this year, because of the PewDiePie exploding, now ads on the internet, ads on YouTube are kind of in the same slot as say ads for wrestling. Like they're the lowest of the low in terms of perception, and thus they're not that much money.
Exactly, you're pretty much in the. When it comes to, of course, the ad revenue, you're at the mercy of what corporate sponsors want to sell their products to, not necessarily what type of audience is interested in the content that's being put on there. And that's why I think you're pretty much better off trying to rely on your own viewers for the most part. And yeah, I know it's tough for a lot of them. There's, some of of the viewers of online content, especially mine, they don't have a lot of money to throw around, and that's why I try, at least on my end, to make it as affordable as possible and just say that, hey, whatever you can contribute is very much appreciated. And I understand. I try my best to make it as accessible and affordable as possible. It's about the best thing that I can do to hopefully try to show my contributors, viewers, and fans that one way or another, I really do appreciate anything they can do for me.
Makes sense. And it is one of the primary drivers. I mean, there are others, like in terms of advertising, targeted advertising, like, you go directly to the sponsors to make deals and such. And, there's a few other ways. But, yeah, Patreon, I'd say, is the big driver of online content in this day and age. And it's only going to get more so because YouTube is never going to stop being draconian. Like, they can't. Like, YouTube didn't change to what it was overnight just because, it wanted to satisfy corporate masters. People forget things like the Viacom lawsuit. Like, Google, YouTube got sued for $1 billion by Viacom, and this is how we got Content ID. Like, in order to settle that lawsuit, they had to put a system in place. And go ahead.
No, that's kind of why I've always tried to say that, while we can get frustrated at some of the practices that YouTube has enacted in the last few years, they're not the ultimate source of the problem. And it goes back to, the major entertainment conglomerates, but also the fact that they're able to enforce their will so much thanks to the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, which I think almost the best thing we could hope for is that hopefully someone will have the ability and clout to challenge that thing, possibly call it, accuse it of being unconstitutional, and that might be the one thing that can help an actual fight against this type of practices.
Right. It's like that's the big hammer here. It's like VidMe, if it got remotely as big as, say, YouTube, the big corporations might, do the same thing as they've always done. Bring the hammer down on, content, fair use be damned.
Right.
Anyway, so as enlightening as this conversation is, I think we should get into your actual, show, like TV trash. And, outside of wanting to get into the online review game, what inspired you to review bad television?
Well, like I said, when I first thought about what if I was going to be an online reviewer, what would I do? I really figured it's got to be something that's, and especially this was back in 2010, of course, when I started out, something that's not being reviewed by a lot of other people. Nostalgia Critic was going mostly after movies and stuff from, the guess the Generation X Millennial Generation Childhood. You had Linkara doing comic books. You had movie reviewers like Film Brain. Spoonie does a combination of bad movies and computer games. And it just comes to the fact that I've been a big television junkie, I guess is the best way to describe it, most of my life. I learned about old classic television because I watched Nick at Night in the 90s as a kid a lot. I really watched a bunch of stuff from Saturday mornings to afternoon syndication, some things in prime time. And I just started to think about, there is some stuff I've watched that was really bad. So the first stuff that I thought of was, of course, the Unhappily Ever After sitcom from the original WB network. I'd seen Stripperella. I saw Ninja Turtles Next Mutation. I knew about historically bad shows like My Mother the Car. So I just thought about, well, that's something I could do. It's just a matter of getting the ability to do it. And then once I eventually one day acquired an external video capture device that I thought about using to transfer like some of my old video cassette stuff to digital files and stuff. But then I realized, this could be used to record footage that could be used in a review and stuff. And then it was just a matter of learning how to use the iMovie video editing project on my MacBook and learning how to use the webcam on it, and just one thing kind of led to another.
Now, do you do this as your primary job, or is it a side thing?
I am really trying to. I've gone up and down about stuff. It's usually, I'll admit, it usually is a fact of where I will make this. I kind of figure I do show this as being an online producer is, for the most part now, my career. I have had to supplement it with other jobs throughout the years, one way or the other. I've done odd jobs at one point in time. I've gotten some help from a family that I'm very appreciative to have. They've supported me a lot in this endeavor, and I cannot thank them enough for that. I mean, I do think that, while I have had to do other things to get some level of income, I still look at this as my primary career just because this is what I really think is my calling in life. I really want to be someone that contributes something to society, and even if it's just a small group of people find joy in any form of entertainment in what I make and what I produce out there, I like to think I'm doing something contribute to the world, and making any people happy with what I produce is that is some level of satisfaction for me.
It's good that you are pleased with what you make, and and you've been at this for 7 years now, and you still have
starting in February of 2010 was when I think I released my first review video.
And it looks like you have over 200 now.
Yeah, it's around in the 220s at the moment as far as TV trash goes, like 220 episodes of TV trash. Then of course there's the there's the Zelda retrospective videos, the Ninja Turtle videos. I've done a few things, the different projects, so it's definitely well more than probably getting close to a total of 300 videos overall. I think maybe it's at least could be approaching that.
I know the feeling, but anyway, so how has the review process evolved and changed over the years? And, do you review an episode of a television show, or do you review an entire series?
It depends on what the subject matter is. I look at an individual show and see, okay, is this show worthy of doing an entire review of the entire series is. Usually that, for me to review an entire series, it has to be something where the whole series as a whole was really bad or otherwise obscure, and it didn't last very long. Part of that is naturally so I don't have to go through so many episodes all at once, but also because I think it getting a show ending very shortly contributes to why it was obscure or otherwise bad. I will review on occasion individual episodes, especially of shows that are more long runners, that because of that, that would mean they were overall well received. But every show's got one or two of its stinker episodes, and that's what I'll bring out. Or then occasionally there are some shows that overall they're well received, but they might have an entire season of bad episodes there was just an overall story arc that just didn't connect. I reviewed the 6th season of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I believe the 5th season of Xena Warrior Princess in that regard. Most of what I review as far as individual episodes go, those, I will say, TV trash nowadays is usually mostly reviewing a short series or a season. For the most part, the individual episodes, if I ever review it, that's what I mainly do. Those are special reviews I make primarily for my Patreon contributors, especially if there have been requested. I've reviewed a number of Family Guy and South Park episodes in that regard. Those are some of the big, more requested ones that I get. I've also, of course, reviewed a large number of Peanuts Charlie Brown specials over the years. I've still got a lot of people that say they really like those, so I really need to get back to finding some others of those that are worth reviewing, to be honest.
Well, I mean, how many Peanut specials have you reviewed, and what are left?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's, I mean, you have to think about it. I mean, I'd like to say it's around close to a dozen of them, but that might be off by a bit. Of course, I also reviewed the Saturday morning series, the Charlie Brown and Snoopy show, just for a TV treasure review. Yeah, I'd have to go back and just see about what all specials are still out there, and what one might be worth reviewing. It's something I definitely, once I get the time to do that type of research, I definitely want to get back into it.
Right, now you mentioned you've reviewed like Family Guy and South Park episodes. Have you ever come into confrontation with fans of those programs? And look, I know that, and this is one thing I told myself when I started becoming an internet reviewer. Not everyone's going to agree with your opinions. And yeah, I've gotten there's some individuals, mostly the ones that they communicate on my YouTube channel with the promos, that they might say some incendiary comments about the fact that I might have trashed an episode or a show that they like. But for the most part, most of the people that I've dealt with, even though if they disagree with my opinions, they're for the most part pretty cordial. But that might be the product of the fact that I don't get as many views as some of the bigger internet reviewers. It's kind of a trade-off there, that I don't have to deal with as many trolls, so to speak. But all I try to do whenever someone disagrees with an opinion I state on a show is I just try to make it clear that, hey, you know what? You don't have to agree with me. I respect the fact that some people might have a different opinion than me. It's what I say on a video doesn't have to be the gospel or anything. And it's just like, I'm just saying what I think about it. If you don't agree with me, that's fine. I just try to take it in stride like that. It's a good philosophy because, yeah, there is no pleasing everybody on the internet, and everyone has very strong opinions. Mm-hmm. And also, fandoms can be awful. I mean, just Rick and Morty comes to mind.
Don't get I get started because I've been talking about this a lot on social media about we're getting into the whole fandom things. I hear people talk about the Rick and Morty fandoms, the Steven Universe fandoms, the MLP fandoms, and I can tell you this: I've been a sports fan even longer than I've gotten into this whole internet thing, and I could tell you some stories about sports fandoms.
Riots in the street.
And even then, we live in the U.S., which is sometimes amazingly comparatively tame in some ways.
If we lose, we set fire to cars. If we win, we set fire to cars.
Yeah, that's still better than, say, football.
Literally, people have been murdered over football.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Believe me, I know the stories. I've been a soccer fan for a long time, so I've read, the history of some of the unfortunate incidents that have happened with soccer football fans across the seas. So yeah, I know all the stories.
Oh, I'm having a let this be your last battlefield moment right now.
Flashbacks going through. You want them to stop.
Well, he's black on the right and I'm white on the left, and I'm white on the right and black on the left. Oh, that makes all the difference, doesn't it?
Now, another question I have is, given the modern era, do you still stick with television shows, or would you consider like reviewing streaming program, like say Hemlock Grove on
It's
Netflix?
very interesting that you bring this up, because it's actually pretty much the subject of the very next TV trash that I'm in the middle of completing right now. I'm actually talking about how when I first started, yeah, I made a promise. I have reviewed one web show in my entire history, and that was back when Eli Stone, aka the Cartoon Hero, and I contributed together to review the web animated adaptation of the Control-Alt-Delete web comic. Yeah, that's not technically a TV trash episode. It's actually part of his show, The Cartoon Hero, if you need to look that up. But going back to present day, yeah, this very next video, I'm actually going to be talking about how web TV production has grown exponentially in these last few years, and we're starting to get a lot more really full-scale television episodic programs created for web streaming distribution. And that's what I'm going to use as my platform to make a review of something I saw quite a few years ago. It was a web revival attempt of The Greatest American Hero, that's going to be the subject of my next review.
Interesting. I didn't know that they revived that on the web.
Well, it only got a pilot episode that was broken up into, I think, 5 to 6 minute bits for the most part. Like I said, I'm going to tell the whole story. I actually was able to get a hold of the creators that took care of this. It's one thing I'm really proud of, that I was able to get some good interview clips with, especially the guy who helped create, produce, and take the lead role in the show. It's a very fascinating story. The more and more I heard about it, how they were able to get it done. It's going to be I'm trying to make it certain that it's going to be released to Patreons next Monday. That should then post it to the rest of the web the week after that. That's the schedule I do for myself now, is that when I complete a review video like TV Trash or something, I'll release it to my Patreons first, and then release it, post it publicly on my website and VidMe and stuff a week later. So, but yeah, this is one video I've wanted to do for quite a while, and now that I've gotten a lot of really fascinating information about it, it's something I'm really looking forward to finally talking about.
It sounds interesting. Now, I think I have the complete series somewhere on DVD. But it's not the only show I can think of that was revived for the web inexplicably. Not too many people know about the Critic web show that happened about 1999, 2000, example. So, yeah, it's like web TV has been a thing for a lot longer than people think, but it's like now it's not just like Netflix and Amazon Prime have shows. They're winning Emmys. They're getting prestige. Now,
I definitely think that, yeah, believe me, online streaming, I've said for a while, is definitely the future, and it's just getting bigger and bigger as time goes on.
But do you think like the television format would be completely abandoned for streaming?
I'm not 100% sure. I do think that what we're seeing, and this is something I've studied for just out of fascination for a long time. What we are seeing is that with people going more and more to the web for episodic television, what you're seeing is the more mainstream is becoming more and more dependent on live events to try to boost ratings, which is why stuff like the broadcast contracts for sports and stuff are exploding even more than they already were. Of course, it's getting to a point where you yourself can go online to get some of those broadcasts as well. I myself, I dropped my cable satellite program a little more than a year ago in favor of Sling TV, which, you get your regular TV channels, but it's streamed online and transmitted via the internet. So it's a question mark. Yeah, will it completely die? Well, radio is still around in some form or fashion. So I don't know if it's ever going to completely. I'm not sure how the will would completely die out, but it's definitely getting bumped aside as for newer methods of transmission. And it's just going to be have to wait and see as to what the future of basic television really is.
That's a fair point. I mean, on the other hand, like the money that television gets from advertising is still very lucrative. I mean, still.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is one that I think is that it's it comes back to something that of course on a very someone I idolize a lot, Mark Cuban. Guy who was basically he first made his fortune starting in internet broadcasting. Used that to become the owner of the Dallas Mavericks here in town. But he always likes to say that in one line: "Pigs get fed, hogs get slaughtered," and it just comes back to thinking that they're throwing all this money into television, even as more and more people are dropping it, which just tells me that one way or another, someone's losing money in this whole deal. Whether or not it's the networks themselves, the distributors of content, or more than likely the consumers themselves that are just more that ultimately leads to the consumers having to pay more and more and more. And it's just a situation where you figure sooner or later enough people are going to drop the cable, satellite, or any type of regular TV programs to a point where the amount of money they're paying out for rights fees and advertising and stuff, someone on the other end is not going to be able to make it back up, and it's going to implode eventually one of these days, you have to think.
Something.com bubble.
It's possible, but on the other hand, streaming is kind of facing its own crisis moment because it's fragmented. Like, people are seeing the success of Netflix and other services, and they're starting to take their balls home and starting up their own stuff.
That's well, yeah. What I will say that I think Netflix kind of dug themselves into a corner by committing full on to streaming and abandoning the DVD district section that they started up on. And it's a thing where more content owners are trying to branch out and maybe create their own systems and abandon the likes of Netflix or Hulu, but not all of them are going to be able to succeed in that. I think because I have considered this, like huge conglomerates like I'm a wrestling fan and I subscribe to the WWE Network, and it's one of the best streaming services out there, to be perfectly honest. Not just the fact that you get their pay-per-view monthly big events, but they just have so much content of past matches and shows that you could just dive into at any time. They've got all the old Saturday Night Main Event stuff on there, old WCW or World Class Championship Wrestling. There's just a whole lot of content there that they can sell to viewers. By the same token, I also think that's why I think that huge conglomerates like Disney or Warner Brothers, they can create their own online streaming websites and sell it to viewers to subscribe to it. Other groups like CBS or the BBC, when their attempts, I don't think they've got the ability to do that because they don't have the type of total content that they completely sell. CBS is trying to solely sell their service just on this new Star Trek series. The BBC was only using Doctor Who to sell their service, and that's not, I don't think a lot of people are going to see that as worth the price of subscription. So I think it's going to have to eventually settle to a point where some huge conglomerates can have their own network services. Others, like a CBS or NBC or the BBC or whatnot, they're going to have to accept that they're going to have to settle for third-party distributors like Netflix or Hulu and deal with just getting whatever share they can get.
Yeah, I feel like CBS All Access is being set up to die or whatever. I mean, especially since Star Trek Discovery is actually a Netflix original everywhere else except here.
Exactly.
They did triple their viewership. Their subscriptions tripled from 2 million to 6 since the debut of Star Trek Discovery. So, based on some numbers I've actually seen run, they're gonna actually turn a hefty profit off of this.
Well, if they're able to make it succeed, good for them. I mean, it's they do have. I mean, they do have. I sure have other shows and stuff, especially if they've got a collection of older classic stuff on CBS that's owned by CBS TV that they can stream. That might be something, but they've got to let it be put out that it's available and promote it to the right people who would be interested in subscribing to it. If they're turning up profit now, good for them if they've jumped it up to 6 million, but it's going to have to be wait and see if that upward slide continues, or if it's going to plateau or even drop off after a few months from now. Especially, what happens when at least this season of Star Trek runs its course. Are they going to be able to maintain those subscribers in, I guess, pretty much the off season, so to speak?
Well, we can almost pretty much guarantee that they're not going to be spending $8 million an episode on future seasons of the show. So I expect quality to drop off precipitously.
I guess that actually kind of depends on Netflix, because Netflix, believe it or not, is actually a major funder of Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah, they paid for the episodes pretty much up front, but whether they'd be quote unquote duped into doing that again is debatable.
Good point.
When they originally were asked, it was like, "Oh yeah, you're totally going to have the rights to it," and then CBS said, "Oh no, we lied."
Well,
yeah, they definitely may have shot themselves in the foot as far as that goes.
As far as I'm concerned, the Orville is the new Star Trek. It still they lost 300,000 more viewers last week, but they're still holding it at about the 3.84 million viewer mark, which is stunning for a Fox show.
That series is pretty divisive, I guess, in terms of some people really like it and think it's the next Star Trek, and some people, I think, based on what you've said, at least from your point of view, is think that it are focusing too much on that it's not what they expected from Seth MacFarlane.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like, I'll lay down the point after this comment here. Go to the theme song that has the blank video. It's just the theme song. They didn't add anything to it. And then look down the sidebar recommended for you, and you will just see there's an entire channel. There's like 10 different channels dedicated to slamming the critics for being wrong about this show.
That's never a good thing.
Yeah, they're like, no, the critics were derisive. They gave it a 20% Rotten Tomatoes rating. They said it was shit. It's not funny at all, da-da-da. And then there's like 40 more videos rebutting that, saying, yeah, they're idiots. They don't know what they're looking at. Seth MacFarlane is a god, and so on and so forth. And actually, it's a really good show with a lot of very, very talented people on board.
If it's other people and fans making those videos, calling out the critics, that's one thing. They might be able to survive it. I just hope it's not the creators of the show or of themselves going back and trying to take that to the critics, because then you've got a whole situation that they're dealing with Teen Titans Go.
Yeah, I don't think he's really been speaking out on it that much.
Yeah, Seth MacFarlane himself only said at San Diego Comic-Con that his only comment was he was somewhat disappointed with the advertising direction because he feels it's misleading. That's the only thing he said, and he kind of let it go at that because obviously he doesn't want to bite the hand that feeds him.
Because what he said and what I think the general perspective is that it was marketed as very much, oh hey, it's Family Guy in space, and it's not.
Right. All right, but before we get off on an Orville tangent, I think we should probably do the wrap up.
Mm-hmm. Sorry.
All right.
Adam, do you have any last comments, or?
I'm good. I mean, we can always have Chris on the program again at a future time.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of material there for sure.
Yeah, definitely look forward to whenever I can manage to make it on here.
All right. Chris, do you have any last-minute plugs you want to do for stuff that you've got coming up, shows you're going to be attending, anything you're looking forward to seeing, that kind of stuff before we wrap up?
Not be appearing in place. I mean, we've got Dallas Fan Expo. I think in a couple of weeks, I may or may not be going to that. So wait and see. I mean, I just recently got back from Florida and Walt Disney World, where I produced a couple of videos with a couple of friends and colleagues of mine, Patricia Miranda and Adam Seabach. Those videos should be released in December. In the meantime, just in the next few weeks, we've got like I said, the next TV trash review of the Greatest American Hero web series. The third episode of Rowdy and Friends should be released the following week after. Then after that, for all anyone who wants to contribute to my Patreon at patreon.com/RowdyCProductions, the last Monday of this month, be reviewing a very special never aired pilot that I think will be apropos for this month, and I think hopefully might entertain quite a few people. I'm just gonna kind of leave a teaser at that.
Okay, well that all sounds very exciting. I'm looking forward to hearing about it and seeing how that turns out. All right. Well, Chris, thanks for being on the show, and very, very, very interesting stuff. We covered a lot there. Sorry for stumbling in the middle there. I thought we had somebody ready to jump in there with a question, and I just kind of hesitated for a moment.
No problem.
Dangers of running a live podcast and all that.
Live, everybody.
Live from somewhere. It's Wednesday night. I don't know. All right. Be sure to check out Chris's channel at vid.me/RowdyCMoore. And of course, be looking forward to seeing him at those events and all that good stuff.
We don't catch it all on my own website, rowdyc.com, as well.
There you go. Yeah, central hub for everything. All right. We don't have a guest for next week, so it's just going to be us faffing about, probably talking about horrible Hollywood people and whatnot, or I don't know, maybe I'll dedicate an entire show to the Orville just so that way the rest of the guys won't show up or something.
Well, Teddy Fang could still find somebody within the next couple of days.
There is that. But we'll keep everybody posted on that. Until then, I'm your host, Mac Paladin, saying thanks for listening and stay safe out there, kids.